stream time. What time do you have to be out by so I can make sure we end?
6:15 your time.
Okay.
I'm going to see Cat Power.
Excellent. All right, here we go.
Recording in progress.
Oh, that echo thing. Go away. Come
Bye.
back. Hi, everybody. We had to send Dani away and bring her back because apparently that echo thing is the new every time thing. So as soon as I have word from somebody in the chat room that we have landed, I will. It doesn't seem like anyone's there. Let's see what happens here. Okay. Oh, there we go. Leah, waiting for there's Dani. All right. Whee! And there she is.
Am I here?
Yes, you are. Through the portal you just came. Yes. All right. And we have looks like we have 4 or 5 in the room, and we're gonna get started right away. Not too much small talk because Dani has a heart out, and there's lots to report because we were not here last week. So nice to be back with you all. People are saying they missed us last week, so we missed you all too. Or I missed you. I'll speak for myself.
I missed you guys too. Plus, I'm missing next week as well. So it is what it is.
Yes, Dani has to travel next week, so there will be no word salad live stream. I was considering maybe just doing like my own live stream Q&A or something, just to keep the flow going, and because we, I don't miss too many times, so may do that. Yeah, so that's what's going on. All right. I hope you guys all took the opportunity to take a break from political nonsense. I didn't for the first 7 days of the time off, right? From Saturday till about Friday, I didn't listen to, so that's 8 days. No, 6 days, 7 days, about a week, right? I didn't listen to any politics or conspiracy stuff or anything like that. I mostly only listened to a true crime podcast that my hairstylist told me about. And I was telling you this when I talked to you on the phone. I'm just going to say this real quick to the audience and then we can move on. It helped me to dispel the notion that I'm not able to stay focused on one thing for a long time anymore, right? Like, maybe I didn't tell you this. Maybe I told Jeff, right? Like
we've talked about it on our podcasts.
Right. But I'm talking about since I listened to the true crime.
Oh, okay.
Right. So I've been concerned that I have some really advanced form of ADD or short attention span or whatever it is. I didn't know if it's that or if it really was just that I wasn't interested anymore in the political, conspiracy stuff or whatnot, if I was just addicted to it and that's why we kept trying to go to it anyway. So I learned that I can pay attention to the same thing for I went through 4 seasons of that podcast in that period of time. And I think I have 2 or 3 episodes left. And it was interesting and well done. Right. And I was able to sort of stick with that. And it left me thinking, and I'm still trying to sort this out, whether it's that I'm just not interested in those other things anymore, and I know when I start to get disinterested in something is when I feel A, yes, it's boring, but B, it doesn't actually represent any truth at all. Even though we think we have found something in truth here, it's still a lie. And eventually I get tired of people who are lying to me and I'll just kind of from my reality, right?
Yeah.
And so because this was sort of a dark topic as well. It wasn't particularly exciting and fun, but it was interesting and whatever it was. So that was an interesting experiment to sort of go with. The podcast is called Your Own Backyard. And it's about this, and I had totally forgotten about this case, this chick who disappeared from Cal Poly in 1996 named Kristen Smart. And a lot of people forgot about this case because that was the same time a period that Elizabeth Smart went missing and she got found after a year. And then right after that, the Lacey Peterson thing happened a few years later. And that also involved Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo on some level. And so this person sort of got caught in that, mix and people sort of forgot about it. And it was just interesting to hear what ended up happening. And the podcast actually ended up helping solve the crime that had been unsolved or not resolved for 26 years. So anyway, if anybody wants a palate cleanser and a test to your attention span and all of that kind of stuff, Your Own Backyard podcast. There you go.
Are they sponsoring us?
No, but at least they're not Democrats or Republicans, right?
This is my new response. I haven't delivered it to anyone because I'm doing my best to stir up less shit. But when I see the Harris stickers on cars, I think, oh, I'm so sad that someone vandalized your car. And then I saw this woman at the gym wearing a Harris shirt, and I want to say, I'm so sorry someone vandalized your tits.
I just got a fucking text from the Democrats, campaigning.
Republicans don't do that.
Kamala Harris, right? They sent me, I haven't been on any voter rolls in like a really long time, but every once in a while they still find me, right? And they were asking me to come to Las Vegas for the Harris Waltz something or other. And I was like, what you smoking, dude?
Let the record show I've never registered as a Democrat in my entire life, and I'm bombarded with stuffing my post office box from New Mexico Democrats. And then the rest of the Democrats text me, and it's just like, I never consented because I never even did that shit. And it stopped when I shamed them on Twitter and tagged them.
Oh, interesting. I think I registered probably, like back in the 90s or something like that, but I haven't participated in a long time. I've said nasty messages to them when they call me and things like that. But you're right. So I've registered as a Democrat at one point in my life. I've never given money to the Democrats. I one time gave $10 to Ron Paul, and I've never gotten anything from Libertarians or Republicans, even though they're the only ones I've ever given money to.
So when I was in college, I registered as a Republican because I got a free shirt that was cute. So I've only ever been registered as a Republican, a Libertarian, or a Green Party member. And I only ever get tech shit from the one party I've never had anything to do with ever.
Yep. Doesn't surprise me one bit.
Yeah.
All right. So, yes.
So I went to an SFI talk, but I think I'll save that for our next long form show, which we're recording next week. I did go to Am I a Racist yesterday, which is not showing in Santa Fe because that's how lame it is here. Drove to Albuquerque to see it. I was impressed with Matt Walsh's ability to act, but I want to share this one still from, have you seen it?
No, but I've listened to a few like clips or interviews about it.
Yeah. So there was a bookstore in Boulder, which I've actually been to, and I requested my own book, and they were like super snarky and rude. And this is one of the books that they recommended. Can you give me screen share?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Oops. Here we go. All right. You have it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of the books that was recommended for people on their anti-racist journey.
Okay.
How do you ask for this book in the store?
Yep.
How do you call a store or a library and ask if this to me shows the entire, I just did a long form solo podcast on this. I now call it Igornay because I'm not going to be infantilized to the point of saying the N word like right. I'm 4. But this shows the whole point of the anti-racism grift is a power play. Yeah. Why the fuck would you name your book this thing right. that people lacking a certain amount of melanin are quote unquote not allowed to say right. unless you're a fucking sadist who's trying to torture people.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm with you completely. We agree and the podcast is over. Good night, guys.
Have a great night. Bye-bye.
Okay. So you so that's your still from the
That's all I have to say on Am I a Racist movie.
Okay, cool. All right. So what should we start with? I know you have a couple of clips. I have a couple of clips. Where do you want to begin?
Yeah, where do you want? Let's start with yours.
Okay. I'm just going to go in we can alternate or just go with mine. But I have 2 clips from Due Dissidents and they're sort of related. So I will I guess we can play them both. And the nice thing about the first clip is that it involves Kim Iverson as the guest. So we get to talk to our friends from Due Dissidents and Kim Iverson. And, 8 years later, but glad someone finally got there. Here we go. All right.
Fair use.
Yep.
All right. So now you've spoken out a lot particularly lately, about the hypocrisy of what some would call the intellectual dark web people, the anti-woke conservatives, who all seem to have an Israel carve out for everything they believe. So Sam Harris, this just dropped. He illustrated what I think you're talking about as well as it's ever been illustrated. So let's take a look.
That's great.
Oh man.
I support nuclear energy.
Huh. Me too.
Oh, have you seen this commercial? Remember when I said how there was going to be the Ark of Discovery about nuclear power?
Yes.
This commercial is the whole family sitting around the table and they disagree about everything else politically, but they agree about that they all like nuclear power.
Can you play it? Because I also want to see the ethnically diverse standard American family that's been shoved down our throats.
Yeah.
Whoa, you actually agree.
I like nuclear energy too.
How did we all not know this? I thought I was the only one. This is so strange. We all agree. Actually, way more
There's a growing
Oh, no,
interest in
I missed the
socialism
chance to
among young
skip.
people in America.
Sorry,
But do
my
they
fault.
know about its
There we go.
reversing it. I mean, just imagine the Jews of Israel attempting to use their own women and children as human shields against Hamas on October 7th. Picture the attitudes of the Hamas fighters if they were confronted with that stratagem. I mean, it's impossible from either side. There's no way Hamas fighters would expect it to happen. There's no way the Israelis could do it. If they did it,
Hamas would think it's like they've hit the jackpot.
it would just be the most grotesque Monty Python skit you've ever seen. I mean, it is a masterpiece of moral surrealism. I mean, like all the Jews would die. And the jihadists would look at one another like, can you believe, what were they thinking? Like, they thought that was going to stop, but the whole point was to kill as many of them as possible, right? But the strategy only works to the degree that it does because there's this moral asymmetry in the value placed on innocent human life. And that asymmetry should matter to everyone, to all of Israel's critics, knowing that it works only because of the heightened civilized and civilizing sensitivities of a Western audience. What's amazingly cynical about this is the jihadists know that we care more about the lives of their children than they do. And they're consciously weaponizing that against us. And by us, I mean all of civilized humanity that is not part of a death cult that views it as a win to have people die in whatever numbers because they're going straight to paradise.
Pause.
Now, of course.
How can Sam Harris point to another culture and talk about a death cult when he's pro lollipop?
Preach, sister. Preach.
Of course, this is extremely bizarre, watching these people who present themselves as public intellectuals, presenting these just insane arguments. We've been watching a genocide in real time for 10 months, 11 months now, and you're making the case that Israelis are much more concerned about innocent human life. We're seeing children starving to death, dying of disease, having no water. You're just, to get one terrorist, you're just bombing entire refugee camps. You're bombing the safe zones. How do you make an argument like that?
Yeah, he definitely hit there were three things he said in there from that clip that were just bonkers in reasoning. The first one being the Israelis don't use their children as human shields. No, it's that they do actually, by their own definition of what a human shield is. It's not like the Palestinians are literally grabbing their children and running around with them in front of them as actual human shields. They're claiming because Hamas is embedded within the society, right, that the children are just automatically human shields. Well, every Israeli is an IDF member practically. So by that logic, if you're going to say, look, anybody whose military is a target, that's almost the entirety of the Israeli society.
Right.
I haven't heard anyone else make that argument. I thought that was an interesting point that she just said, but yes, we'll continue.
That would be a target. And they do have their own bases built below Jerusalem. They've got bases that bunkers built all throughout that region underneath the human. So so that right there saying, well, the Israelis don't use human shields. It's like, no, you do it in the same exact way. You just, especially with conscription and everybody being an IDF target, right? Now you've put everybody at risk by doing that in Israel. The second thing that he says there with well, imagine if we did that, then they would just eradicate all the Jews. And then, but of course that would be the plan. So that's, and it's like, well, that's what you guys are literally doing.
Exactly.
You're calling them human shields, blowing them all up because your goal is to eradicate all of these people.
Of course. He's describing the actual tactics of Israel as some hypothetical, if the shoe were on the other foot and Hamas did this to Israel. You're describing what is going on. Saying that, well,
Yeah.
I like that Keaton said hypothetical. The Yiddish pronunciation. I'm a little disappointed in all of these people who I respect giving Sam Harris the time of day. He's like a booger. He's so insignificant. The inanities that spew forth from his blowhole are not worthy of any of these people's attention. I don't understand why he still has a public forum.
So a couple of things. So I agree with you, and I think most people, even in the intellectual dark web, don't take Sam Harris seriously anymore. The reason that I chose to share this part, because it moves on after this part, and she's just talking about the general problem with the intellectual dark web, but is because I thought it was interesting the way she highlighted some arguments that no one else has made. I thought that was that some of the things, like, we often accuse these people of being a little slow on the uptake, right? But because they have spent so much time sort of in the progressive activist, pro-Palestinian kind of reality that isn't like your or my main beat or whatever, like they're aware of some things that are not. And I just thought that was interesting, that some of these tactics that are being pointed out here. So in just a second, they're going to go on to the rest of the dark web. But I agree with you that like Sam, I don't even whatever you said.
And I also just want to say, like, Kim is an independent thinker. She really stands out as an independent thinker, and I so appreciate her take on things.
I'm going to give you my take on Kim when we're done listening to this whole thing, because that was part of why I wanted to sort of bring this up. All right.
Genocidal. It would be genocidal thinking, but that's what they have. They have genocidal thinking. So they would just wipe us all off the face of the map with their genocidal thinking. It's like, well, okay, you've just described yourself. And then that last part about him saying, we care about children. They know we care about children. And so that's why they do this. And it's like, no, you don't care about children at all. That's why you do what you do, despite the fact. And then you just use as an excuse to do what you do. Well, they use kids as human shields. So what if all these kids died? Whoops, too bad for you.
Pause,
they're not even trying to.
I'm annoying today. But I'm just noticing.
No, I'm just kidding.
Exactly. The black and white cartoon nature of the conversation, that side doesn't care about their kids. No, that side doesn't care about their kids. That's bullshit. Everyone cares about their kids. It's so much more nuanced than that. Like, I just think that's
she's
ridiculous.
Caring about the opposite side's kids. Sam Harris made the claim that Israel.
We care about Palestine's children more than they do.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
To get away from the bombing kids. This class, it's very interesting to see nearly 100% of the intellectual dark web have this. They suddenly, when it comes to Israel, their brain rots. I mean, Dave Rubin has blocked me on Twitter. He just thinks I'm terrible for it. It's just, they cannot see, for whatever reason, something about, and I don't know, is it possible that they're all bought off? Is it?
Yes.
I think there's a real possibility that there is a lot of money flowing, and they know that if they make a criticism, that money will stop. And the reason I think that is because I was a guest, I'm not going to say which show it was, but I was a guest on a big show at one point, and I went to the studio. And we weren't even on air yet. And this was a couple of years ago after I had just come back from the West Bank. And I'd come back from the West Bank just a bit earlier, a couple of months. And I brought up Israel just in casual conversation with some of the producers. And they immediately said, we're pro-Israel here. We're really pro-Israel, really, really, really pro-Israel. And they were dead serious. And it was very weird. It was like, what in the world? You know, so like they knew if they said anything different, the money would go away.
Right.
You know, it wasn't even listening to what I had to say at all. It was just, and it was it felt artificial, like they weren't genuinely pro-Israel. They just were like, oh, no, we're pro-Israel here. We're pro-Israel. We super weird.
Well,
I think they're all bought.
I mean, sorry, go ahead, Russell.
It seems like also, though, a lot of them, because I followed and appreciated a lot of the ideas of a lot of these people until October 7th. Because they always emphatically said, look, I'm one of those who feels that the idea that Western civilization is uniquely foul or uniquely prone to evil. I've always spoken against that as throwing out the baby with the bathwater, that you should take some of the best ideas. And that has tended to be their argument. And they have emphatically argued it's not that we're Western chauvinists, is that we're saying there are certain things in Western culture that should be preserved. And, you know, that's something I agreed with. And after October 7th, their defense of Israel revealed them to just be bargain basement Western chauvinists. Well, they're a democracy in the Middle East, which they're not. They are protectors of Western values. Well, in the worst sense, sure. Yeah. I think that's part of it. I think it is partly what you're saying with some of them. I think there are some commentators who, I mean, you know, Kim, there's a whole network of speaking engagements that a lot of people make their living off of. And a lot of it is controlled by that money. And if they start speaking about that, they're not going to get those gigs.
Yeah, I think it's mostly that. I got to say, I've got a lot of friends inside of the libertarian and the Republican sphere, and some of them my very, very close friends. And I just think that they are worried about opportunity loss. I don't think that they're necessarily getting, like, perhaps this one show was actually getting quite a bit of money and funding from a very pro-Israel Zionist source. So that's why they were like really quick to say, no, we're pro-Israel. But I think the others, it's a form of being bought off, right? Because it's a lot, you know, you're just going to lose, you're going to end up like Candace Owens, where you get shunned by everybody, right? If you speak up, and that is what they're afraid of. And one thing I've always respected.
Okay. So, I think we started with this part, with this critique and this analysis in 2017 or 2018. And I feel like that's the best sort of, other than Amazing Polly, who has said some things, right? Like in terms of like the sort of the layer of media that I would consider them to be in, that is sort of the most like succinct sort of summary, you know, right there. And while it is simultaneously satisfying, it's like, there's part of me that's like, what the fuck took you so long? Like, it was pretty easy to see way back then. However, I recognize that the thing that most people don't have, that you and I have, is a long-term look into mind control, right? And that's why they can't see it until it strikes at a political cause that is close to them, because they're not looking at sort of the techniques of propaganda and the techniques of brainwashing and all of that are being employed or deployed or whatever it is. It just had to be, it wasn't until it landed on something that they know a lot about that it actually made no sense to them, and then they could start to see. But remember, back in like 2018, I was like, isn't it weird that there are no members of the intellectual dork web that are either pro-Palestinian or at least critical of Israel? You guys can go back and check, like, way back then. That was, I remember the day that it occurred to me that was weird. So, yeah.
I have an alternate perspective. I'm not sure I believe it, but I'm just going to throw it out as a thought experiment. I thought it was a little odd the way she said she thought it was because of the money, as though that was something that was revelatory and that no one had thought of before, and that both Russell and Keaton were like, and I'm like, is she running cover for blackmail, for threats? Because you look at RFK, he's super rich. He doesn't need the money to be bowing down to Israel plus Mossad through his MDMA, like speaking out against the FDA, which Robert Forte and I just talked about on a new podcast. But it's like, I'm just noticing the way that that was performed. If it was, I don't know, as though it was some shocking revelation and like putting up the guardrails around, don't think anyone's being threatened, don't think anyone's being blackmailed, because I'm proposing the preposterous idea that they're being bought off.
So two things. So I think that the people that they have been exposed to, that they either have some, like what she was talking about, her friends in the Republican or libertarian movement, I think they're below the level of blackmail. I think they're just at the level of like, they have podcasts and they want to be able to make a living at them and all of that kind of stuff. Bobby is up at a level where no, it's right. Yeah. So like they're still in that layer of the media where like, sure, they probably know and have met and maybe even had as guests on their show at some point, maybe someone who's touched that blackmail reality. But in terms of like most of the people they know, and then we also have to we have to remember like that even though they're very sophisticated in their analysis of certain topics, like on the thing that we're really talking about, they're still just kind of waking up. Like I was listening to a couple of different Matt Taibbi on a couple of different things the last few days, and I do have a Matt Taibbi clip later, and I'm like, wait, like he literally is at where like he's known a lot about politics for a long time, but now he's really understanding a lot more about conspiracy and blackmail and mind control and the weird stuff that goes on, and he's literally like looking at the same things that I was looking at 10 or 15 years ago. And so it's just like a different order of like finding the certain things to eat on the buffet table and consuming them, right? And so I think some of that is there. My analysis on Kim Iverson, right, because I've been watching her longer than Do Dissidents, is that every time she reaches a choice point of where she has to decide whether she's going to go along to get along or whether she's going to make her life more difficult by not doing the thing or not going along with it, she seems to make the right decision, right? Mm-hmm. Kind of thing. And so even though like maybe there's like, maybe they don't know for whatever reason all the things that you or I might know, or they may do things in a different way than whatever. Like she's had plenty of opportunities to like make a buck and put off telling the truth till later or not at all. And she hasn't done that. So even though I get frustrated sometimes at the pace, like I do feel like she's got integrity.
It very well might be. I'm just playing devil's advocate. She's still famous. She still has a large reach. This is all happening on YouTube, where the rest of us get shut down for saying 1/100th of what they say. I was just noticing how she like the performative aspect that went into, I really think it's probably about the money, as though it was some like grand new thought, where I was like, that just struck me as a little bit odd. She could be totally on the level. I recognize what you're saying. I was just throwing it out there.
She doesn't seem to be one of these people that is like on the speaking tour that she's talking about, right? Like, I was listening to her in that interview talk about her background and where she got her start and the entree that she made into this. And she started out as a radio personality before she got into politics, right? So again, like you have to sort of like, we see things from like the angle that we understand them,
totally.
Right? But I do feel like that's the most that someone that really isn't us or isn't deeply entrenched in like the conspiracy layer of the media has really said about that situation.
Correct. But again, it could just be expanding the Overton window. I know you have another clip on this, and I'm not sure if it's the Rescue the Republic, but she had the perfect opportunity to unpack the excessive amount of shilling and pawning in that group, and she sidestepped it. She did not take that opportunity in this, even though she brought it up.
So the other clip I have from Do Dissidents is not with Kim Iverson.
Okay.
So I felt I think I listened to the whole interview, but I felt like this was kind of her critique about the problem with the people in the Rescue the Republic I think this was that was sort of what led into it was.
I think the only person who's involved in Rescue the Republic that she's referencing here would be Brett Weinstein.
Right, but I think that they were kind of talking about, at one point in the interview, I heard them sort of interchangeably use the term the Rescue the Republic people in the intellectual dark web.
Is anyone else from the dark web in Rescue the Republic?
Jordan Peterson is on there now. Right? And there's like a couple of more, but today I was listening to that Do Dissidents guys interview Angela McArdle, right, who put together Rescue the Republic and the Rage Against the War Machine.
Yes.
And that she and Russ were back and forthing on this, like on some of this as well. And so I didn't want to bring another long clip from Do Dissidents on that type of topic. But they did press around, like Russ is speaking at the Rage Against the War Machine, but he's there to critique, he's going to critique the Rescue the Republic. So he's going as a journalist to critique Rescue the Republic, and then the next day he'll speak at the Rage Against the War Machine. But like there was some uncomfortable questions asked during the Andrea McArdle thing, like that felt like not avoiding the topic.
Yeah, I don't think the Do Dissidents guys are. I'm just, again, playing devil's advocate on Kim. I don't know anything. Yeah. I'm just throwing it out there. I also didn't bring the clip because I thought it's so boring when I share like a 5-second clip just to make more connections between the players and SFI. But I did want to mention that I listened to the Jordan Peterson, what's that guy's name with the big nose who's like asleep? Bill Maher. And Bill Maher was asking Jordan Peterson about his new university, and Jordan mentioned partnering up with John Vervaeke on that. So we have all the more, like just seeing the SFI tendrils, taking a stronger and stronger foothold publicly in that whole mess.
Yep. Okay, so the next clip is also from Do Dissidents, and this one is, here we go. This one is shorter.
Okay, folks, Donald Trump did a couple of pro-Israel events in Washington, D.C. This little video cut focuses on one of them, and here he is in front of an American and Israeli flag, and he actually says the phrase, a lot of people in our space sort of, took some shots at him. Hey, is he ever going to say make Israel great again? Is the MAGA movement really make Israel great again? Well, here's your answer, folks.
Back our country, and we're going to make Israel great again, and we're going to make America great again. We're going to make them both great again, greater than ever before.
There we go. There you go. We're going to make Israel great again. And then we'll go on to see some other gems that he drops in this speech here.
We're going to take back our country, and we're going to make Israel great again, and we're going to make America great again. We're going to make them both great again, greater than ever before. I am the best defender you've had as president by far. I think there'd be no question. Miriam mentioned 4 or 5 of the things. Those each individual thing. Oh, her husband.
Whoever's doing the camera work on this chose to cut off the American flag while giving more real estate to the Israeli flag.
Good point.
Husband would drive me crazy. You have to do this. You have to do that. You don't know what I had to put up with. She was like the calming influence. I said, Sheldon, I can't do that. It's too much. He said, no. And every time I got something, he'd immediately start with something else, right? You just had a big victory. Let's celebrate. No, we have to immediately start. Let's see if we can do Golan Heights. How about Golan Heights? They've been trying to get it for 72 years. I got it done in about 15 minutes, okay? So. Even Sheldon couldn't believe that one, I'll tell you. Even Sheldon couldn't believe that one. He said, we just got Golan Heights. They didn't even ask for it. I actually gave you that one. You didn't ask for it, but I thought it was important. The Democrats are bad to Israel, very bad. They'll never change because they have a section of their party now which has become amazingly and quickly very powerful, vote-wise. I mean, Chuck Schumer is a Palestinian. Who would have thought that was going to happen? What the hell happened to him? I saw him the other day. He was dressed in one of their robes. That'll be next. No, Chuck Schumer is Hamas all the way. I don't know what the hell happened to him. If you support him, you're crazy.
Okay.
All right. So I'll stop there because you guys got the point. But there's another part where they go on and Donald Trump even there's an acknowledgement that Donald Trump didn't even know what the Golan Heights was. And so someone told him about it for 15 minutes and then he went and did
I mean, that's every pundit, that's every podcaster, everyone does that.
No, Donald Trump did that.
No, I understand. They all do. Everything's fake and gay. So why would that be different?
Have you seen Juan Ayala's, all of his memes with the fake and gay?
No.
Oh my God, Juan Ayala's memes. He was the first one that I heard saying that. Apparently
it was Sam Tripoli who coined it.
Okay, but I don't listen to Sam Tripoli, so I first started hearing it from Juan, and he's great with the memes. But he has this chart, and he's standing at the chalkboard, and it's showing how up here it's how fake it is, and over here it's how gay it is, and the more fake it is, the more gay. Right? He has a bunch of them that are really, really funny. So, yeah. So I don't know what I don't think that there's anybody in our audience that is fooled by Donald Trump, but whatever the fuck that just was.
That was a problem. I do have a pro-Israel tidbit to share.
Yeah.
As I said, there was no watching Am I a Racist in Santa Fe, so I went out to Rio Rancho and I didn't have a chance to eat anything and I was starving and I found this amazing, authentic Israeli restaurant in a mini mall that was so good. I mean, say what you want about the Israelis, but they do good vittles.
Well, they know how to marinate their meat.
Right? They really
do. Totally. Right? Yeah. No, there's some delicious Israeli food. I also really like Jewish deli food, right? Love bagels and somebody called me they were saying, of course I agreed with this because I'm Jewish or whatever. I'm a fanatical Jew or something.
Yes, you're a fanatical Jew.
If liking bagels and matzo ball soup make me a fanatical Jew, then I am guilty as charged. All right. All right. Do you want to break from my clips and your clips, or should we carry on with my clips?
Let's carry on with yours. You're doing it.
This one is just for you. You're gonna love this one. I fished this one out just for you, my friend.
I feel so loved.
This is Gnostic Informant, who I really like. I found Gnostic Informant because I from the people who listen to Almond Hillman. I sort of sent me kind of over there. He's interesting on a number of levels. This entire podcast is actually quite good, and I recommend it. For people, you guys can see the title there. There's a lot of interesting topics covered, but this one, my friend, is just for you.
What do you make of? I asked you this before the podcast, but I was saying, what do you make of so many people online? You see people like YouTubers like Candace Owens, like Jordan Peterson, Russell Brand, all these people suddenly being born again Christians.
I think they're on a team. I think they're playing for a team. I almost want to say for some people it's a grift. For other people, they believe in that side so much. They believe in the conservative worldview, the more of sort of a nationalist leaning worldview. They believe in it so much, and then everyone there's Christian. So you got to spiritually become part of this. And so they're going to, I think people like that sort of convince themselves that it's true.
Yeah.
And they don't look for evidence on the contrary.
Right.
They're not reading Bart Ehrman. They're not looking at is it really true? They're finding out how can I make this true? And sort of convincing themselves that.
Right.
And then you get people who want to convince themselves that the founding fathers somehow set up this country for Christians and only for Christians. As we pointed out, all these quotes from these letters from these founding fathers, where they're saying the opposite.
Getting back to that, it's just if I had $1 for every podcaster I've seen make videos of themselves getting baptized on their Instagram.
Yeah, I think it's a grift. I think it's a grift. I do. I mean, not everybody, maybe. Like I mentioned, some of them really probably convince themselves and they actually believe it after a while, because they want it to be true, because that's the team they're on. But I think it's identity politics, and they don't call it identity politics. Everyone else is doing identity politics. Oh, the trans movement, the Black Lives Matter movement, it's all identity politics, except for me. Even though identity politics could be Christians. Christian, as a Christian, I believe this because the Bible says so. Even if I don't actually believe it, I have to believe it. That's identity politics. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
You know?
It's just crazy to see it happen in real time.
All right. It's like, there's a lot of things around that throughout the podcast. So I recommend it's a good podcast, but, that was for you, my friend.
Thank you. I think it's a grift, but I also think it's groupthink. It's a weakness of character. And it's also that, save me, daddy. I think it's a combination of all of them, but I think some of them are told. It's like how the Masons have to kiss buttholes to get to the highest degree. Some of the people on the circuit have to publicly baptize themselves to stay on the circuit or move up in whatever those gross ranks are.
Yeah, and I like the framing of it as identity politics too.
Of course it is.
I can't tell you how many people say, as a Christian, blah, blah, blah. Like I can take my rational mind off when I've got my Christian cap on and because I'm a Christian or whatever it is, right? Yeah, but I recommend that in the context of that whole podcast, that fit in a way that was really interesting. And so highly recommend. Okay. Last clip that I have is from the America This Week podcast or live stream with Matt Taibbi and Walter Kern. And remember when I called you from LA the other day, I was explaining to you about like, I noticed like with my dad and the people I know there that are, especially the older people who are voting for Kamala, how it's more like this, she's like some weird heroine or like anesthetizing influence. Remember I told you this?
Your dad's voting for her?
Oh yeah. Right, but he's not. But remember what the main thing was the way that I said it's like weird. It's like she's like some kind of heroine to like make them feel better. Remember I said that to you when we talked?
Yeah, I do remember.
Yeah. Okay, so this was when I got off the airplane on the way home here in Austin. I was listening to this and I thought this was interesting. So there's also leading up to this in this podcast. There's some interesting things about this group of people. This intelligence people in support of Kamala Harris, whatever, that they had some interesting things to say about that.
Wait a second. Are we watching Mystery Science Theater 3000?
Yes.
Why do they have the background?
I can't remember if that's the one they always have or if that's just the one they have.
Is it 3000? I might be getting the number wrong, but did you ever watch that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, but I think Laura did. She's talked about it to me before, I think.
This is their set. This was their whole setup. This graphic.
I think they like a lot of that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair use.
But let's look at the Oprah thing because you and I haven't talked about this. I don't know. Everybody seems to be saying that it's like this ultimately disastrous moment. Let's listen to this segment if we can.
We love our country.
Ew.
We love our country. I know we all do. That's why everybody's here right now. We love our country. We take pride in the privilege of being American. And this is a moment where we can and must come together as Americans, understanding we have so much more in common than what separates us. Let's come together.
Nice hat.
The character that we are so proud of about who we are, which is we are an optimistic people.
Right.
We are an optimistic people. Americans, by character, are people who have dreams and ambitions and aspirations. We believe in what is possible. We believe in what can be.
Pause.
And we believe.
Can you go back to the television screen audience? What was that? I've never seen that before. It was only like 2 seconds.
We may have.
I put the T in.
Yeah.
We take pride in and we believe in fighting for that. That's how we came into being, because the people before us understood that one of the greatest expressions for the love of our country, one of the greatest expressions of patriotism, is to fight for the ideals of who we are, which includes freedom to make decisions about your own body, freedom,
but not
to be
freedom of
safe
speech
from gun violence,
or freedom to have a gun,
to have access to the ballot box, freedom to be who you are and just be, to love who you love openly and with pride, freedom to just be.
Right.
And that's who we are. We believe in all that.
I can't.
So
I'm
this
going to
is a
throw
moment
up. I know.
where we stand, knowing what we are fighting for. We're not fighting against. It's what we're fighting for.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, their analysis is great.
I mean, it's Kamala Harris. I didn't think it was. There were lots of things that I thought were deeply irritating about that, but that's basically her, right? I mean, what do you see when you watch that?
That's her with acting coaching.
Well, I watched it live, and I've
Walter Kern is great. For those who are not familiar with him, I always love his takes on things. So his analysis here is great.
watched it since, and now I've watched it probably 4 times. And the hypnotic and hand gestures are really studied, I realized. I mean, when she said together, she had her sort of, you know, here is the church, here is the steeple.
Oh, yeah.
Hands, you know, and this and that and so on. It's something that a magician almost would teach you. It's, to me, far more studied than the words themselves. Now, the words themselves were impeccably meaningless. Impeccably. Freedom to be. Well, what?
As opposed to what?
If you mean as opposed to death? I mean, freedom to just be isn't really that free. You know what I mean? In other words, even in North Korea, they are, you know. Is she a Heideggerian existentialist?
Yes.
You know, I mean, freedom to be, meaningless. In America, one of the ways we express love or whatever is patriotism.
Mm-hmm.
And she then went, and that's how we came to be, in fact, is through something. I guess it was the love of freedom. It wasn't a real great summary of the American Revolution, if that's what she was talking about. But
my favorite one is the ballot access, though, since the Democratic Party has been completely against ballot access for basically every one of their opponents.
Freedom to love who you love, except for that dude in North Carolina who got caught on the porn chat, you know. But anyway, it was, as I say, thoroughly, impeccably meaningless. It was an expression of a mood. What was the mood? I have no idea. Because though she enacts emotion, I don't know what the emotion is. Is that joyfulness? Is that pride? Is that... And she manages to be pedantic in a way that, you know, I think has been compared to a kindergarten teacher, but strikes me as sort of a high-end therapist or something, about things that she's not teaching me. In other words, it's always suggested by her tone that she's just said something pretty interesting, something that she has to often repeat because it's that interesting or that subtle, but it never is. And so what I see is a fully formed act of a kind I've never seen before. You know, there's a lot of empty rhetoric in politics. Sometimes it's the majority of the rhetoric you hear. But this is a whole new thing because she speaks as though she's thinking, as though she's not repeating, you know, this is the greatest country in the world. See, nobody acts like they just thought of that when they give a speech and say, you know,
right.
America's the greatest country in the world, or, you know, but she acts as though it just kind of came to her in this profound trance in which she's channeling I don't know, the Statue of Liberty?
I think it goes on and it's funny for a while longer, but I think we've got the point. And I want to make sure we get to your clips. I thought that was amazing, didn't you?
That was awesome. And it's also a total lie. So I just pulled up a clip from something that I've shared on Telegram because, yes, what she said was meaningless. And she did incorporate a bit of my work in saying we don't fight against, we're for. So I want to share this clip just so we can see what a liar she is. Clearly, instead of putting any time or energy into creating policy, it's just acting classes. That's all she's doing. Okay, I hope this works.
Behaviors among everybody in the community, and just because you legally possess a gun in the sanctity of your locked home doesn't mean that we're not going to walk into that home and check to see if you're being responsible and safe in the way you conduct your affairs.
Have you heard from...
So she values this country?
Right.
So she's not going to fight against the Second Amendment? I mean, she shit talks Trump all the time.
Yeah.
But she's not backing up her shit. Did you see that hideous Oprah thing with like Julia Roberts and Meryl Streep and whatnot?
I saw some clips, right? I saw some clips and it was just like, what is
it was so cringe that I
thought it was maybe like, it felt like a spoof.
Because Hollywood is coming crashing down
It's over.
at warp
It's over.
speed. I love the Diddy thing and like Usher deleting his Twitter account and Pink deleting her Twitter account. And just watching Meryl Streep and Julia Roberts simp for this loser, like, I hope their careers are totally over.
Yeah.
It was beyond
Hollywood it has never been more clear. It's been clear to me for a long time, but it has never been more clear to me that like it is done, finito, completo, absolutely. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
I thought Walter Kern was great in the way that I loved the way he did that. And he always has interesting takes. He kind of reminds me a little bit in like, for some reason he has an energy about him that reminds me a little of Robert Forte.
I can see that. I can see that.
In the sort of political like realm that he's in, that Robert has in the sort of psychedelic and sort of ancient religion environment that he's in or whatever. So yeah,
that was fun. I'm gonna look up that whole interview.
Yeah, both those last two that I showed are great podcasts. I recommend people take a look at those. Okay, on to your clips.
Okay, I have a Hillary Clinton clip. It's just an audio, so I don't think I need to share my screen, right?
Yeah, you don't need. Sometimes we're not able to hear it great. So let's see. If I can't hear it great, then you can share your screen. Sometimes you have to share the screen to get the share sound. It's weird.
Okay, so it's only 29 seconds, so stop me quickly if you're not hearing it.
Got it. Okay.
So your husband flies to Epstein Island 27 times, then they arrest Jeffrey Epstein, and then you kill him. Just like that, you bribe the guards, you turn off the cameras, and then you choke him to death. Will you be choking Puff Daddy this time around? Right. So how are you planning on doing it?
Well, I wanted to choke him at night and make it look like a suicide, just like Jeffrey Epstein. But then I realized Puffy might actually enjoy that. So, maybe he slips on the shower, maybe he chokes with a piece of fried chicken. I still haven't decided yet.
That's all. Obviously it's fake, but I love it so much.
All right. Fair use and fake. We're not claiming that that's reality, everybody.
Correct. Fair use and fake. Okay.
Yes, that was entertainment. That was entertainment.
Correct. That was entertainment. We are an entertainment channel. This is a clip that multiple people sent me yesterday in an obvious bout of hysteria. No disrespect to the lovely, beautiful humans I love who sent this to me. Here we go. Oh, wait, I need to share sorry, you don't even see what I'm doing. Okay. Fair use. Here we go.
Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Sherry Tenpenny, and I want to do a quick update about a document that got passed by the United Nations this weekend called the Pact of the Future document. It's two parts, one on science and technology and one about the youth and future generations. It is quite egregious, and it was done by a procedure called the silence procedure, which makes it a pact And if no one objected, it is automatically adopted and put into the record as being completely adopted. This is the World Health Organization's runaround, or end around. Since they were not able to get the World Health Organization treaty passed, they decided to take it to the General Assembly. And it is even more egregious than what the World Health Organization was wanting to get passed. Let me just read you something really quickly about what is inside of this pact that is now being accepted by 193 nations around the world and equally open-armed accepted by our current administration. Everyone, it says that this is the power structure, fully digital and maximized for the control of the masses. Everyone will be expected to have a biometric digital ID that marks them not just as citizens of an individual country, but as a global citizen. So anytime you hear global citizen or anytime you hear sustainability, think that this is an egregious thing that's happening at the level of the World Health Organization and the United Nations. Anyone that has a dissonant opinion will be labeled as misinformation, disinformation, or malinformation and memory hold. Perpetrators for unapproved information will be fact-checked and punished by the system, which will be operated and enforced by artificial intelligence. Punishments will include being locked out of one's bank account, being unable to make certain purchases, unable to get on an airplane, on a subway, drive on public roads. This is the future, according to the world's self-appointed overlords at the United Nations. These are unelected bureaucrats that are making decisions about our country, our sovereignty around the world. Nothing could be more important at this point in time than to get prepared. Have water, food, digital access, flashlights, a way to communicate with family and friends. Now is really the time to get involved and get prepared, because this is what's coming. Our Congress is sitting on its hands. There was a press conference on the 17th about this, and no further action has been taken. So it's up to us to mobilize and to go forward, particularly with your local sheriffs, to get your constitutional sheriffs to say, this isn't going to be allowed in my county. Thank you very much. Take action. We've been talking about the onset.
You get the gist.
Oh boy. I'm gonna let you, I mean, you have at it first, because I think people will not be surprised by my take, but they might be surprised by your take.
I don't believe it. I think it's total Loosh collection.
Totally, yeah.
No part of I was just like, no. And I was a little surprised at how many people sent it to me and the fear around it. That's my take. What's your take?
Well, I mean, usually you're like very concerned about what the WHO is doing in the UN and the pandemic treaties and all of that kind of stuff. And
correct.
Right.
I'm over it.
Like everything about that read like complete like fear porn media from like 2003.
Correct.
Like
Correct.
the FEMA camps coming, like all that kind of stuff, right? So it's weird to me how many people still get excited by all of this stuff, right? But it's cyclical, right? Like I recognize that the the alternative information industrial complex is used to cycling. Like it seems like there's like, it's kind of like high school. Like there's a new class comes in every 4 years. Maybe it's a little longer. Maybe it's like more like elementary school, like 6 or 7 years. And then they cycle that out and a new class begins. And so we have to hear all the same. Imagine just doing elementary school over and over and over. Like my nephew goes to Waldorf school, and they have the same teacher from like kindergarten or first grade all the way to 8th grade, right? The whole time they're in school, they have the same teacher. So for that teacher, every 8 years, they cycle back and have to start at the very beginning and go, right? So it feels kind of like that's the sort of environment that the alternative information industrial complex has figured out. It's not that different than the university system or elementary education system. And there's an economy that goes with it. And there's like all kinds of things and that feels like kindergarten has just begun.
Yeah, it felt like where was Sherry Tenpenny in June when the first iteration of this passed, which you and I covered over a month ago at this point. And it also feels like, well, Hollywood is crumbling. That whole thing is crumbling. They're not going to survive. So they had to throw this out. I don't know. It just felt like super fake and dumb and lame. Fake and gay.
All right. Dani has a hard out in 6 minutes. So let's go to the
Not a hard on, but a hard out. I would like to thank Jim Montgomery for his generous super chat. And I also just want to acknowledge that Jim came in late and his first move was to super chat us. So I'm going to encourage everyone else who's gotten about 59 minutes of loudmouth Jew joy to throw down for us. Thank you.
I like how he did, the way he presented it is like he's paying a fee for being late, like he's tardy, so he has to pay extra dues or something like that. Thank you, Jim. We appreciate it. All right, so you guys know the drill. All capital letters, questions, comments. We've got 5.5 minutes at this point. Let's hit it.
Let him rip.
Something interesting. All right. Let's see. Hi, I see FPV is here today. FPV has a new, the FPV and the APM team have a new video full of decodes that I haven't had a chance to watch yet, but I'm excited to because I've already seen some of the still screenshots, and from the graphics are amazing. So I'm excited to watch.
FPV, would you be willing to share the link in the chat so we can all queue it up?
Please do. Yes, and he has administrator property. He'll be able to do it. It should let him post the link. Let's see. All right. Who else is here? Everybody's here. All of our friends are here.
Hi, friends.
Nobody's out. Welcome back. Thank you, FPV. All right. Yes, hard out, not hard on.
I like the mention.
I have to go behind the paywall for that. No, I'm kidding.
I like the mention of John Coleman's work because I really appreciate his.
John Coleman's work is great. Yep, there's a link for the new video. All right. Okay. All right. Afterburner, do you go to Afterburner events? Do you go to Burning Man and then to Afterburner events? Moon Girl, 1999.
Thank you, Moon Girl. Thank you so much. A reminder for folks who did tune in late, I'm not going to be here next week. Emily might be holding down the live stream solo.
Yeah, I might do just my own live stream next week to, I don't know, we'll see. I feel like I might want to come even though Dani will be busy. All right. Just follow. Thank you, Moon Girl. All right. Nobody has any questions, it sounds like. So let's see. Tucker Jones. Okay. Is that a question? Oh, I know Alex Jones was on like Tucker.
Oh, I have that. I have that. Do you want me to pull it up?
You have a clip?
Did you see it?
It went into my feed, but I saw it in my feed, but I haven't listened yet. Like that came up, you know, I've told you I've been on this, like not listening to anything but true crime and tennis.
It's short. And okay. Fair use. Alex Jones is a baller. I got to give him credit.
All right, ball out, Alex Jones.
Okay, sharing screen, fair use. Don't sue us, Alex. Just give us a well-paying show on InfoWars. Can you see?
I saw a video right before we got on saying that InfoWars has been ordered to be auctioned off. I don't know if that's...
Yeah, and Elon Musk is thinking of buying it, which will be the death of InfoWars, whatever. Okay, here we go.
All right. We're good. 20+ million people dead from those shots. Well, truth's coming out about you and Fauci. How's it feel to kill more people than Hitler?
You're writing some folk songs about it?
You'll never get away with what you did, your bioweapon. You're in a lot of trouble. Nuremberg 2 is coming.
What a character. I like the initial moment.
We don't care about Russell. I don't.
Was that real? That's fucking hilarious. Like that's crazy. It's like Francis Collins was there waiting for him.
What are the odds that they're both?
Was that Francis Collins or Robert Redmond or whatever?
I didn't even know who it was, but like,
yeah, one of those guys.
Why was Alex Jones at the airport with a camera crew? Did he know ahead of time?
The whole thing seems like a little bit of a setup, but whatever it is. It was kind of like a Luke Radowski moment, you know what I mean? Where he confronts the Rothschild or whatever, or the Henry Kissinger, and calls him a war criminal, right? Okay, 2 minutes left. Who's got, okay, so Afterburner does not go to burner events. Interesting.
I Heart Wellness gave us $10. Thank you, James. We love you.
Yay, thank you. Okay, feeling kind of silly. What do you think about the West connection to MK Ultra and cybernetics? That's more than a 1 minute topic to broach into. Cybernetics is like, I'd say that for people, cybernetics is really important to understand, like separately and together with MK Ultra. And I would say that if you were going to choose one thing or the other to research in relationship to concerns over the things that the WEF are proposing, I'd say research cybernetics.
Can you give us a 30-second overview of cybernetics, Emily?
I mean, they're like the 30-second overview. No, not really, right? But it's like it's a more complicated thing to try to explain. But it really has to do with, you know, the way information and technology sort of alter our brain, and the way like it's a more complex field. Maybe we can talk about it either in our regular podcast. Oh yeah, wordspodcast.locals.com, all one word. Welcome to Words for a free month. We can do not a deep dive on cybernetics, because I think other people have done that, but we could do a little bit more of a sort of roundup about it. Do you have an explanation that is more concise than mine that you could give?
I don't, but I mentioned the SFI talk that I went to last week with the president, and he put up this chart of all these players, and so many of them had cybernetics next to them.
Right.
So maybe we can analyze that and talk about it on our next live.
The basic definition is the science of communications and automatic control systems in both machines and living things, right? So it's sort of the, you know, it's a way of like, you know, our brains operate a lot like machines and can thus be manipulated and controlled in similar ways. And so I think the first definition I gave is pretty accurate.
Yeah. Emily, we got a really important question for you from Jim. Did you finally watch Valley Girl?
Oh, I haven't watched Valley Girl yet. I forgot.
Why? Why are you not prioritizing this?
Okay, I think there was let's see, what are your thoughts on Amendment 14, Section 3? Will Trump get elected and Congress kick him out? Okay, Dani, do you want to take that one, and then we have to wrap up because Dani's going to a concert?
No, I do not.
You do not want to take that one? Okay, neither do I. Okay, awesome. All right. I haven't looked into all of that, but it's all fake and gay anyway, so I don't even know if it matters, right? I don't even know if it matters. All right, guys, thanks for playing with us. I will be back here most likely next week. I'll make a post on YouTube to let you know one way or the other. And then Dani will be back in 2 weeks. We are recording a regular podcast on Monday though, so that will be available sometime later next week.